And we're live. Hi, TXC crew. Happy Friday. I went live 2 Fridays ago, and I'm going live today, which is June 20th, 2025. If you are hopping in, say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm in Texas, and I got my H-Town. I did my first 5K this year, so I got my H-Town shirt on. But I want to come on here because I did a poll on our post site. I asked kind of what kind of topics you wanted to see, and the most votes went to VA changes. So that's why I'm doing a live video. I did a regular video this morning on student loan changes that may impact you or somebody you know. So if you want to check that out, head on to the channel to check out the student loan video that I posted. It wasn't a live, it was just a regular video. I posted it today. But today I'm going to talk to you about the changes to VA, and you might have seen it already. I think The Guardian posted an article that got a lot of attention, basically talking about the executive order that was implemented at VA that changes the policy. It impacts medical professionals and the patients, and both medical professionals and who they can and don't have to treat. And also it impacts the medical professionals themselves. Like, are they in danger of losing their jobs? So it came a big fuss about it because of the article The Guardian put out. It stemmed from a January executive order, but VA just implemented in their policy recently, and that's what caused the fuss about it. I'm going to read the article to you. We're going to talk about the executive order. I want to know what you guys think about it, because I know a lot of our viewers, seek treatment at VA facilities, and I want to know how you're impacted by it, or maybe you're not, or maybe you have something to say about it, but kind of giving you my view on it and how probably it's going to be navigated going forward. So I like to start all my videos with, let me know in the comment section which branch of the military you serve. So we got Army, Coast Guard, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, and we have Space. What's it called? Space? Because I got it wrong last time, and I should have made sure I got it correct. If you know, comment in the comment section. Let me know what it is. Let me know which branch of the military you serve. I know a lot of our veterans served in multiple branches of the military, so that's wonderful. Thank you for your service. And if you are new to the channel, I'm Larita. I'm an attorney. I'm not your attorney, but I do give actionable information about how you can navigate the VA process. The last video I did was about how to expedite your appeal. So check that out if you haven't already checked it out. All right, so I'm going to check the comment section, but while I'm doing that, while you guys are checking in, and make sure you get the video a thumbs up. What it does is push it out to the wider YouTube algorithm so that it's picked up by other people like you or who may benefit. So I'm going to share my screen with you because I'm going to talk about the original article, say what I think about it, and I want to know what you think about it, because it's a lot. It can be deemed controversial, so I'm very well aware of that, but we kind of want to see what's going on, in the government. So let's see here. So this is the article. Says new VA policy sparks outrage as doctors may refuse treatment to Democrats and unmarried veterans alike. Now that heading right there was going to evoke some emotion in general. I think that headline could have probably been phrased differently, but it definitely got people to click on it. It says a new VA policy has sent shockwaves through both veteran communities and the medical community. The change, which follows a Trump-era executive order, has already raised serious ethical and legal concerns. A contentious policy change at the Department of Veterans Affairs allows VA doctors to refuse treatment to veterans based on their political beliefs or marital status. Critics describe it as discriminatory and dangerous. So it says, what exactly changed in the VA policy? Psychologists, dentists, and a variety of other professions are also subject to the new regulations. The regulations have already taken effect in certain VA medical facilities, per a report by The Guardian. We'll get to The Guardian's report because that's what it all stems from, them putting out the article, and they're saying they're not retracting it. Executive order defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truths to the federal government, issued by the president on January 30th, is cited by VA officials as the reason for the modifications. Regardless of race, color, religion, or sex, medical personnel are still expected to treat veterans, and all veterans still have the right to care. However, since federal law does not specifically forbid it, individuals are now free to refuse to provide patient care due to personal characteristics. VA hospitals have the authority to exclude physicians and other medical personnel on the basis of union activity, marital status, or political party affiliation. Impacted are certified clinical social workers, podiatrists, speech therapists, chiropractors, CMPs, and optometrists, as per a document reported The Guardian. The executive order sought to deny the majority of government protections to transgender individuals. The VA no longer offers the majority of gender-affirming care and has prohibited the use of terms like gender-affirming and transgender in clinical settings. The VA press secretary Peter Kasperowicz responded to inquiries via email, saying that all eligible veterans will always be welcome at the VA and will always receive the benefits and services they have earned under the law. However, he did not dispute that the new rules allow doctors to refuse to treat veteran patients based on their beliefs, or that doctors could be fired based on their political affiliation or marital status. All right, I'm going to stop sharing right there and check in. Let's see who's checking in. And I want to know, guys, what do you think about this? Like I said, it was going to be controversial, but what do you think about this? So let's check in here. Somebody says called Space Force. Okay, thank you. But I don't want to butcher how do you say your name. So it's E-L attend to Tonk. Let me know how to pronounce it. But thank you. It is Space Force. That's the newest branch of the military. New here, CM. Doug made a video saying the article is misinformation. Doug is in the head of the VA. Okay, so CM, we're going to check out what's happening, because the press secretary said basically like veterans are still going to be able to get information, get treated like they're supposed to. The Guardian blew it out of context, and the Guardian being the news article, is not going to issue a retraction. They said they might offer something to provide more context, but they said basically this is what it is. Like, we're not pretending that something didn't happen that was supposed to happen. This is what it is. And let me share with you, because they cited to the executive order that the reason why the VA policy had to change, right? So this, I always say I'm an attorney, so I always go to the source and I say, let's not dispute the source. This is what the source said. This is where it's coming from, the executive order. So this is straight from the White House website. This is an executive order. It's called Defending Women from Gender Ideology, Extremism, and Restoring Biological Truths to the Federal Government. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read the relevant part of it that would explain why they're saying this information in the new VA policy about perhaps transgender and things of that nature, those people affected by it. It says, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, blah, 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 is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. Across the country, ideologues who deny the biological reality of sex have increasingly used legal and other socially coercive means to permit men to self-identify as women and gain access to intimate single-sex spaces and activities designed for women, from women's domestic abuse shelters to women's workplace showers. This is wrong. Efforts to eradicate the biological reality of sex fundamentally attack women by depriving them of their dignity, safety, and well-being. The erasure of sex in language and policy has a corrosive impact not just on women, but on the validity of the entire American system. Basing federal policy on truth is critical to scientific inquiry, public safety, morale, and trust in government itself. It says, this unhealthy road is paved by an ongoing and purposeful attack against the ordinary and longstanding use and understanding of biological and scientific terms, replacing the immutable biological reality of sex with an internal, fluid, and subjective sense of self unmoored from biological facts. Invalidating the truth and biological category of women improperly transforms laws and policies designed to protect sex-based opportunities into laws and policies that undermine them, replacing longstanding, cherished legal rights and values with identity-based, inchoate social concept. Accordingly, my administration will defend women's rights and protect freedom of conscience by using clear and accurate language and policies that recognize women are biologically female and men are biologically male. So then it goes on to give you the definitions and how these policies impact things, right? So let me stop sharing it. So that's the basis of it, right? The executive order saying basically they want to protect women, and this is a way of doing it by defining who are women, who are men. And as a result, how it translates to VA policy and how veterans are possibly treated at the hospitals or veterans beneficiaries. If you identify, they say you can't use federal funding for any kind of gender affirming therapy. that goes into any federal like bureau prisons, things of that nature. You can't use federal funding to continue this gender ideology, right? And then also it impacts, I guess, if you are same-sex marriages. I think that also impacts those too as well. So I think that it stems from that, but it kind of has grown legs of its own. So in response to CM's comment about saying Doug made a comment saying that, made a video saying the article is misinformation, I wouldn't say that the article is necessarily misinformation, but it does, the executive order does say that things need to be changed to align with what the executive order said. So I think the Guardian's article didn't give that context to it, but that's what's going to happen, and that's what's been happening. I think other VA facilities are cracking down on what treatment is, and even some of the doctors. So let's see. CM says, "I'm no Doug fan. Let me make that known." Okay. Plain language seems like the Guardian is correct. Exactly. I think the Guardian is correct, but it painted VA in a unfavorable light. And I think that's what Secretary Doug Collins was trying to clarify in his messaging, right? He wants to distance himself from it and say, no, we're going to still offer. And that's why it was, I guess, the press secretary said, we're going to still offer services to all veterans who qualify for services, right? That is not necessarily addressing also. So two things to be right at the same time. It could say that we can also deny services to certain people, but if you qualify for them under our new policy, we will treat you, right? It doesn't ignore the fact, though, that policies are not law, right? And like they said, they don't want to skirt the possibility that this could be a legal issue, right? If you discriminate somebody based on gender and things of that nature, this can bring a bigger issue to light. So I think they're trying to be very careful to not tiptoe in that direction, because that brings up all kind of other legal battles that they probably don't want. But in reality, that's what's happening. So I wanted to see what you guys think about it. I know this is something that's controversial and doesn't impact everybody, but I wanted to know what you guys thought about it. Have you encountered some changes in the in your care since the administration changed over? Have you found it to be more helpful, less helpful, or you haven't seen any changes as you go into VA facilities? Let me know in the comment section as you seek things. Usually what I do is advise veterans about how to navigate the VA appeals process. And so I'm not usually on a day-to-day basis on actually seeking treatment on a daily basis. So I don't know how you or your family members have experienced things at the VA medical facilities, at the Veteran Center, if you get mental health treatment. But I wanted to make sure I hopped on here and shared it with you and see what you guys thought about it. Also, I'm giving you an opportunity because I did a live before and we talked about how you can expedite your VA appeals, and also did a video about how you, if you have a hearing before the Board of Veterans Appeals, how you can properly prepare for it so that you can see possibly a positive view of your claim, successful view, get a grant perhaps. So if you had any questions that I didn't address in other videos, if you're new here, welcome CM to the channel. Thank you for hopping in today on the live. If you have any questions from previous videos that you didn't have a chance to ask me in a comment section, I want to leave this open for space now. I know sometimes we get questions during our lives, and it's an opportunity for me to interact with our viewers live. So I want to give you space for that if you had any questions. So let me see before I hop off here. I'm active duty, but I filed a benefits before discharge. Okay, so I'm glad you did that, and I'm glad you brought that out, CM, because we had previously in the past, veterans or active duty people, they weren't sure about as far as filing for benefits, and some people I interacted with say, well, I didn't know I can file, that's why I waited so long. So it's good that you're still on active duty. And I always say, make sure you get all your documents before you leave, complain about everything so that it's listed on your separation examination, so that you don't have that uphill battle when you apply, and you've already applied. And it's more likely that the success rate are higher for those that file for benefits before they discharge from service, right? Because at that point, you've identified things that are happening right in active service. And the three elements for service connection is a current disability, something that occurred during service, and a connection between a nexus between the disability and the service, right? And so when you file while you're already on active service, absent from you not having, like, let's say it's something that was noted on your entry, or you don't have a current disability, you kind of just diagnose yourself and you really don't have the disability, you're likely to have your benefits granted even before you get discharged, even though they wouldn't be effective until the day after your discharge from separation from active service. But it's good that you already are on top of that. So that's also important. I try to make sure I spread that information to people that are veterans and that know people who are still in active service. So I'm glad that you kind of already navigated that space, and hopefully you'll see some grants before you get off, before you discharge. The layoffs have been the number one issue. So there's planning on laying off a lot of people VA-wide to come in line with the fact that they think that it become a more efficient process. I think it's also to perhaps privatize some of the services that are offered to veterans. I asked before in a previous live whether you think as veterans you would get better service from privatization versus a VA facility. Because right now, sometimes VA contracts with contractors to get some things accomplished that they can't do in-house. But under the new, administration, you may see way more of that. And how do you put a check on that, right? Because if they're outside company, how do you put checks on that? How do you make sure that the veterans are getting the services that they needed? Some veterans like, well, good, I'm glad, because I had to wait a long time anyway to get VA service, right? Or some veterans say, no, I like my VA doctors. I don't want to be forced to go to somebody who perhaps doesn't care as much or just in it for the money. So there's been some various, opinions on that. So what do you think about that, those that are watching it? And if you're in the replay game, meaning you're not watching it live today, June 20th, hashtag replay gang in the comment section and shout out in the comment section that you're watching. Let's see. CM says, I'm still seeing providers for conditions I didn't claim yet. Okay. So you're still kind of in the process. I will use my presumptive period for future claims. Okay. So you're kind of ahead of the game more than most, I would say, CM, because a lot of times that's the uphill battle for many of them. They're trying to see what's going on. I know I did a whole video about the PACT Act and how that has gotten people grants that were previously denied because of the presumptive service connection. And if you're not familiar, the PACT Act was for if you served in the Gulf War and you had certain, or even in some parts of like Vietnam, if you served in certain parts, then you are entitled to service connection as long as you have one of those disabilities on the list, and you show that you have service in that particular area that's covered, right? So I know that brought a lot of grants that were previously denied before. And, that shows that we're moving in the right direction. Technology has advanced, research has advanced enough for them to say, okay, we know we said before it may not be a connection, or we maybe say before that there wasn't herbicide use here, but now we're kind of acknowledging that there may be a connection. And so for some, it may be a little too late, but for those who it benefits, right? So it's not a perfect system. It's definitely an imperfect system, but I know I've seen people benefit from the expansion of the presumptive disabilities on the list. So I don't have much questions since my situation is so early. I might have to deal with appeals later. Right. And I mean, like I said, you're in a good place right now. You may have some appeals later. You kind of know the deal. You can go back to make sure that you're coming in under the Appeals Modernization Act, the AMA, where you can file a supplemental claim if they say you're denied for this reason, and then you have something to dispute the reason why they denied you, can file a supplemental claim and still have your claim approved at a later time. And I always say to the veterans, like, don't just say, I'm mad what you said, the denial, but you don't address the reason why I was denied. So be careful about that. Not just saying like, no, because I know somebody else got it. Whatever they said you were denied for, try to submit information that counteracts that, right? That disputes that. Like they say you don't have a current disability. If you have a medical document or something that says you were diagnosed at some point, you need to submit that as counteractive evidence towards what they're saying that you don't have the disability for. So keep that in mind. Privatization is bad. Layoffs are bad. So in general, I guess you're not in favor of what the administration is going on. We need more public health systems, starting with vets. We'll see what ends up happening with the current. We're only 6 months into the current new administration. So it's interesting to see what'll happen in the next 3.5 years and whether it shows good. Unfortunately, some people will not benefit from it, and hopefully mistakes that will be made won't be so far to come back from. But in some people's cases, like them missing the proper treatment could be detrimental to their health and they can't come back from it. So hopefully whatever the veterans who already made the sacrifice they can get some help that they need on the back end and not have to deal with whoever's in office. Like whoever, it doesn't matter who's in office, the veteran's still going to need what they, need the treatment that they should have been getting all along. It shouldn't be interrupted based on who's in office. Marty approved for VRE and potential. Okay, so you might be a future law. So we have a channel too. We have a playlist too, CM, about pre-law, law school, and beyond to give people who are first, especially first generation law students, but it doesn't have to be, even non-traditional law students who are looking to go to law school. We have a whole playlist on that. So check out that playlist on our channel as well. So I know you said you're new here. So peruse around. We have personal finance, all kind of things there. So it might be something for you and other people on there. VRE is chapter 31. So he's talking about educational benefits. For those that wonder what he's talking about, I'm assuming it's a he because of the icon. It could be a she. But CM is talking about educational benefits and using the chapter 35. That's talking about the 38 USC chapter 35 at 31 benefits to use that to further his education. So saying like, I need some development for my vocational. So can you invest in me so that I can get a better job? And usually veterans do well. They use those fundings and they can go further. And he or she wants to go to law school. So that's cool. Let's see. First man in my family. Okay, so you're our guy. So I said I was going by the profile picture, but this is the guy. So first man in my family to finish a bachelor's degree. Very good. So you're first generation. So that's good. You're the first and you're paving way for other people and you're going to reach back and help other people too, hopefully. So I'm always happy to see that. I'm also always happy to see people that want to continue their education and keep learning. So I'm glad that you stopped in today, CM. Since you're new here, I'm glad you stopped in and we had a chance to converse for a little bit. Anybody have any questions that are on the stream? Let me know where you're watching from. As I mentioned before, if you just hopped in late, I'm in Houston. I got my H-Town 5K shirt on today. Let me know what part of the country you're watching from. I know we have people from all over. So let me know what part of the country. Obviously, many. Okay, yes. Well, girl power. I'm always with the girl power, but I'm also proud of those who are first generation, whatever they did in their families as well. So I'm glad. All right, so if there's no further question, I'm going to leave 1 more minute. If there's no further questions, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about everything. We got 1 more question. Let's see. Vincent Taylor, medical retired Iraqi deployed veteran. Thank you for your service. Can get presumptive with insomnia to collect my retirement pay as a medical. Let me read it again. Can I get presumptive with insomnia to collect my retirement pay as a medical retired veteran? Not sure what you're asking, Vincent. You're asking, can you get presumptive service connection for insomnia? And you're asking, can you also collect it like concurrently with your retirement pay as a medical retired veteran? So it depends. I think they've changed the rules in regards to concurrent retirement pay and service connection. So I would definitely apply. And then they would tell you, sometimes I see it with veterans who are like doing drill pay. They give you an option whether you want to collect your drill pay or you want to collect compensation. And usually people waive drill pay and collect the VA compensation. So it all depends, but I would definitely apply for whatever you think you may be eligible for. Insomnia, I can't remember if that's one of the presumptive disabilities on the list. I have to look. Because the list literally grows, which is great because it expands it, but the list literally grows a lot. And I think insomnia may be one of those presumptives. So I would say apply for sure. So thank you for tuning in, Vincent. Vivian from Texas too. Hi, Vivian. Can you qualify to connect? Can you qualify to connect? Oh, you were asking about what the previous question. So I said, I'm not sure if insomnia is one of those on the presumptive service connection list. I think sleep apnea is. I don't know about insomnia in particular. And I would have to look on the presumptive disabilities list, but you can apply if it is on there. Insomnia is a hard claim and isn't always compensable, I guess you mean. Yes. That could be true. And I think sleep apnea, I think I see that more often, and you can get, so usually what CM is saying, basically you can get service connected for certain things. And I did a whole video about that too. They got service connected and they got 0%, like what's up? And basically it's based on the severity of, your condition, right? You get rated, you get service connection, and then you get a rating for it. Basically how severe, how severe your disability is based on your ability to work, right? So your 100% means like you are severely disabled and you can't basically work. Even though I see a lot of people who have 100% and still work, right? 50% is mean you're 50% effective from working, right? So you get compensated for that. And then based on all your disabilities. So CM is saying that insomnia is a hard claim. It isn't always compensable because it's hard to prove how severe your disability is. Like I couldn't sleep, but usually that's why I said I see it with sleep apnea claims. Like if you stop breathing a certain amount of times, you need your CPAP machine. Those things usually can be better measurable when you're trying to say, I want to match it to a specific like rating. So he's correct in that regard. Let's see. The rating criteria for insomnia alone is just low, right? For certain disabilities, they're not going to be high. I know tinnitus is a big one. Most people can get that. That's when you have like ringing in your ears. Some people call it tinnitus. The maximum you can get for that is 10%, right? So some disabilities don't have higher ratings in general. And like I said, I have to look at the rating code to see for that one, but you could get something. And then if you have several disabilities that are non-compensable, they can add up to a 10% as well, right? So if you have 3 disabilities that have 0% rating, that could also be used for something in the future. So that's why I would say still apply for something, even if you have a low disability rating or you have non-compensable, because several non-compensable disabilities equal a rating as well. So keep that in mind as far as when it comes to translating to how much you get financially about it. So, all right. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up before you dip out of it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I try to do videos at least once a month. This month I did twice because I hadn't been on the channel and doing videos since January. So I'm trying to make up for lost time. Check out the posts. I usually do kind of polls that ask you what kind of videos you want to see in the future. So check it out for future. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, CM. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Vivian. And thank you, EL Atenta. Thank you all for tuning in today's live stream, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great Friday.